The Trans Am season opened in St. Petersburg, Florida, with a street course that was dominated by three-time series runner-up Ron Fellows. In claiming his 16th Trans Am victory, the Toronto native seemed almost untouchable. Could '96 prove to be the year where so much potential would finally deliver a championship? But then came Homestead, the spanking new facility in South Florida. There, two-time and defending Trans Am champ Tommy Kendall made the challenge clear. Fellows would not have an easy time of it. The 11th win by the Mustang driver was but a harbinger of things to come. Next came the shores of the Pacific, as Long Beach invited these street warriors to compete at America's oldest and most prestigious temporary circuit. There, a new face took the top step on the podium. Jamie Gallus, holding off more seasoned, more race-hardened veterans to claim his first Trans Am victory. Could the 24-year-old represent the changing of the guard? Well, not quite yet. In spite of, or perhaps because of 9 lead changes over the course of 100 miles, 43-year-old, 89 Trans Am champion Dorsey Schrader took the checker in the Arizona sunshine. Schrader's 14th career win made it clear to all that this year was going to be a dogfight. And by the way, it evened the manufacturers' battle between Ford and Chevrolet at 2 wins apiece. Finally came last week's race at Mosport, Ontario. There, the ancestral home of the Canadian Grand Prix hosted this season's first north-of-the-border brawl. And it was Chevrolet's own Paul Gentilozzi who, for the 3rd time in his decade-long Trans Am career, earned the appellation Victor. 5 races, 5 winners, 5 men who've defined this year's series as the most competitive in the history of full-bodied stock car road racing combat. What better way to celebrate the 30th anniversary of North America's most prestigious road racing series, the SCCA Trans Am Championship. Not since 1973 have the first 5 races of a Trans Am season had 5 different winners. You can rest assured none of these 5 men want to see that string stretched to 6. Today, the sound of tourists driving through the lush and rustic Connecticut countryside are replaced by some of the most definitive sounds of motorsports. 640 horsepower V8s. Rumbling around Lime Rock Park in the Berkshires in a 180-mile-an-hour game of King of the Mountain. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Joy, delighted to be here for this Memorial Day celebration of speed. In just a few minutes, even the trout in the Housatonic River will feel the vibration and the rumble of the V8-powered Trans Am cars. This is the 18th appearance of this series at Lime Rock. 1967, Peter Revson drove to victory lane on a track that is short, but requires a great deal of momentum. There are a lot of places here that can catch the unsuspecting or unwary. It's a track that demands total concentration to reach the victory podium. Who would know better than my broadcast partner, former Trans Am champion, David Hobbs?
Well, Mike, they say the best things come in small packages, and Lime Rock Park is relatively small, 1.5 miles around and only 7 turns. But all of those turns are very, very different and present different challenges to the drivers. Last year, Ron Fellows, going down the downhill, the fastest corner here, had this rather spectacular crash. It also happens to be a very important corner because it leads on to the long front straightaway, at the end of which is turn 1, or Big Bend as it's known around here. And the Big Bend is very important because that's where you're going to see most of the overtaking into Big Bend this afternoon. And this whole complex, Big Bend turns into turn 2 and then into 3, and this is the one place where the drivers can really get up a good rhythm. And as I said earlier, you're going to see most of the overtaking into turn 1, with some people maybe sneaking by on the way into turn 2. With more, let's get down to Bart Kendall.
You're looking at the car of Boris Said. Right now it's sitting 5th on the grid, but because of the SCCA's inverted start, Boris is actually the quickest qualifier. He was a driving instructor down here at Lime Rock for 2 years. He knows his way around this track. You see Boris just about ready to get into the car. So if there's going to be a 6th first-time winner this year, my pick is Boris Said. However, there's one other guy I'd like to call attention to, and he's sitting a row behind Boris in the 8th spot, and that is Scott Sharp. He's a 2-time former Trans Am champion. Just flew in last night where you might have seen him run the Indy 500. Finished 10th there. He was also the Indy Racing League champion. Scott's won here before. He could be a guy that could be the 6th different winner this year. Back to you guys.
Well, now, if you've checked your local listings, you know we're going to be with you for 3.5 hours today. Everybody knows that a 100-mile Trans Am sprint doesn't last that long, so what gives? Well, let's join 1969 Trans Am winner Sam Posey.
Thanks, Mike. When the Trans Am is over, the action will stay at full stride here at Lime Rock, because the next cars to take the green flag will be IMSA's 2 fastest classes. This World Sports Car, 650 horsepower, ready to propel it to over 200 miles an hour. A car built for racing and for racing only. And don't confuse this GT car with anything intended for the street. It too built for racing and racing only, around a tubular space frame, 650 horsepower, also over 200 miles an hour on tap. So when the battle is over between Ford and Chevrolet, stick around, because here at Lime Rock, things will be about to go exotic. Back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Sam. Ron Fellows straps in and gets ready to ride. This weekend, stock cars, Indy cars, sprint cars, and now the fastest road race cars in America. Next. Round number 6 of the 1996 Trans Am Championship today at Lime Rock, Connecticut. Before we set the field, let's check in with David Hobbs in this week's Auto Week update.
Last week in Mosport Park, Ron Fellows, the Canadian champion and of course the local hero, was expected to dominate the weekend, instead of which he went out with this blown engine. And that's the 3rd time that Ron's had problems this year. A blown engine at Long Beach, and of all things, a flat tire in Phoenix. Ron, I mean, this year's just not going according to plan at all. I mean, you're just having a string of bad luck. That's all it is, right?
I sure hope so, and I hope it's going to turn here pretty quick. I mean, you can't not, we got to finish. You know, like when you had, what, 1 DNF in '83 when you won the championship? We've had 2 so far, but I think fortunately, the guys are working really hard, but, you know, we're going to have to get some top 3s between now and Reno. That's the bottom line. Jesus, I mean, we're trying hard. Trust me.
All the cars in Trans Am are carrying this sign, and we certainly do wish Candy Maldonado well. He got hit on the head last week by a nitrogen bottle in a freak gust of wind, and he's at home recovering now. Paul Gentilozzi, for 3 years, he's tried to win one of these races. That checkered flag's been awful close. It's been beckoning, and then there's always something just gone wrong. But last week, from flag to flag, Paul Gentilozzi, you won the race. You must feel great.
Well, David, the whole team feels really great. This year, I felt a lot like Rodney Dangerfield. I couldn't get any respect from anybody. We were fast in qualifying, fast early in the race, but just couldn't finish. Now that we've got that behind us, we're going to be a lot of trouble for the rest of the year.
The lead driver for Ray Bessis and Tom Goy, of course, is Dorsey Schrader, winner at Phoenix, tight second in the championship at the moment, and a champion driver before. But not only is he a champion driver, he is an instructor for the Skip Barber Racing School and always has been, and he's instructing one of his opponents. Dorsey, what are you telling him?
Well, we're trying to help Bill Allaby. You know, I worked for Skip Barber so many years around here, instructed at this racetrack all my life, so just trying to help out. Bill came over and needed a little help. I'm trying to get him around here a little bit faster. Maybe not hurt him, though.
And what did he tell you to do, Bill?
Well, he said lose 20 pounds and grow a little hair.
This update has been brought to you by Auto Week magazine, which for a limited time only is being offered for only $19.95 for 52 weeks of exciting racetrack action, a saving of $80 off the regular newsstand price. Don't wait, this offer won't last forever. Call 1-800-232-1520. That's 1-800-232-1520. Call today.
On Friday for practice, they had one of the largest crowds in the history of Lime Rock Park. Today, the place is packed. Here's what they'll see. On the front row, Dorsey Schrader from Missouri in a Mustang and Greg Pickett's Camaro.
On the second row, Ron Fellows, winner from St. Pete, and Tom Kendall doing his 62nd Trans Am start.
Boris said the third on his home track in a Ford, and Brian Simo in the Valvoline Mustang. That's row 3.
Row 4, we have Paul Gentilozzi, last week's winner. Alongside him, Scott Sharp, fresh from Indianapolis yesterday, and of course, the new IRL champion.
He just met Bill Saunders. His Camaro will share row number 5 with John Gooding from Florida in a Roush Mustang.
On row 6, of course, is Jamie Gallas, who's the points leader at the moment, starting 11th spot, doesn't like that, alongside Dale Phelan, back from that big crash in Long Beach.
New Englander R.J. Valentine from Massachusetts in a Camaro, and Don Maluzio from Pennsylvania, also in a Camaro.
On row 8 is Don Sack in one of the Oldsmobiles in the race, and Bob Ruman from Ohio.
Row number 9, John Miller IV from Tennessee in a Camaro, and Dominic Toto out of New Jersey. He's in an Oldsmobile.
On row 10 is Jerry Simmons from Canada in a Camaro, alongside Ted Sullivan, also in a Camaro.
Frank Ciopatini, who calls Lime Rock his racing home, and Vinny Musicaro and Bill Eagle. That's the way the rest of the grid will fill out here. They're all in Chevrolet Camaros and all veteran club racers in the Northeast Division of SCCA, taking a turn at Trans Am racing here at Lime Rock today. The field is set and begins to roll out around this 1.5-mile circuit. There's Tom Kendall ready to go to work, and Dorsey Schrader. Park in Connecticut, where it is a picture perfect postcard day for racing in the northwest corner of Connecticut. First of 2 pace laps underway. Temperature mid-60s, bright sunshine, hillside full of race fans. As they round through the S's on this pace lap, the Trans Am point standings look like this. Jamie Gallus with a victory, Dorsey Schrader, Tom Kendall, Paul Gentilozzi, Ron Fellows, the top 5 in driver points after 5 races. There's Scott Sharp. That's why he made the trip back here from Indy. He's 6th in the points. Saunders, Simo, Valentine, and Pickett. That's your top 10. Manufacturers line up like this. Chevrolet 41 points, Ford 35. Oldsmobile also represented in this series. Across the short chute to West Bend, that flat right-hand corner and that gravel trap, the undoing of many a racer here at Lime Rock Park. Then they'll head for the bridge and down the hill to the diving turn. Jamie Gallus driving the Chevrolet Camaro, getting ready to roll here. He is starting deep in the field in 11th spot.
Also on board will be with Tommy Kendall this afternoon, who's got the highest percentage of wins to starts in this series. There you see him on board. He's going to have his work coming up from 4th spot.
And Dorsey will be starting from the front row, a man with more experience here than probably anyone else.
Ready to roll at Lime Rock Park.
As you said, Sam, of course, Dorsey Schrader, probably the most experienced driver here, going into this very important Big Bend, squeezed hard there by Ron Fellows behind him, and Greg Pickett on the outside. There you see Jamie Gallus back there in 11th spot.
Into the only left-hand corner on this circuit. It is the slowest turn of Lime Rock Park, and you need to stay way left to get a jump to the back straightaway. It's not really a straightaway. That's zig and then zag, 2 corners along what is now called no-name straightaway. End of the climbing turn.
Climbing turn, very tricky. The front of these cars coming off the road. Some of the axle, the front wheels actually losing contact. Through West Bend there with Dorsey Schrader, the fastest corner hill, the second fastest, down to the downhill. This is a real gut wrencher. Fast downhill, swoop in. You've got to make a good apex, otherwise you'll be right out on that gravel on the left. And of course you need to make a really good exit out of there to get down this straightaway, which Jamie Gallus is trying to do to get around. I think that's Saunders, Bill Saunders, in one of the Highway Master cars.
Jamie Gallus has got to move up fast. He's leading the championship, but only slightly over Dorsey Schrader. Dorsey, of course, has a clear track in front of him, and Jamie Gallus, you see him right there coming through the left-hander, is in trouble. I mean, he's going to have to move up fast.
And right in front of him is Scott Sharp. Ron Fellows has got around Greg Pickett in the yellow car, in the number 6 car. Ron Fellows in that gorgeous Sunoco car right behind Dorsey Schrader as they go up the climbing turn. Ron Fellows really needs to win this race.
Fellows, of course, who had a great start to the season at St. Petersburg, but has not had any luck since then, and had a big crash in the turn that they are about to go through right now last year.
On board there from over there, you see Brian Simo in one of the Tom Gloy cars. There you see Ron Fellows trying to go around the outside of Dorsey Schrader at Big Bend.
Sam, is that the toughest way to pass here on the outside of Big Bend?
I tell you, it's tough everywhere here, Mike. Now the track with these very, very fast wide cars feels narrower than it ever has, and it's a treacherous track. It's more like a mile oval in many ways, where momentum counts as much as anything.
Sam would know about momentum. Formula V once was SCCA's most popular class. Little overshoe-looking cars on skinny tires. Sam was the first man to ever drive one in top gear with his foot on the floor all the way around this place, something that for years folks said could never be done.
I didn't think it could be done either.
But did it. Down the hill.
That front bunch very, very closely bunched up as we go back to Brian Simo, just behind Boris Said. Boris Said in that all-white number 14. He, of course, was the fastest qualifier, had to start back in 5th. A tremendous disadvantage here with that inverted start. But it really has made Trans Am racing exciting over the last couple of years as the fastest runners try and fight their way to the front. It's also led to a bit of body contact, which has caused a little bit of controversy, but nevertheless, it certainly does make racing exciting. Great Pickett in that yellow, number 6, picking up the pace a little bit again, and recatching Ron Fellows.
So we're underway at Lime Rock Park in this big doubleheader action of Memorial Day. We'll be right back. Beneath the bridge, and there you see Ron Fellows trying to make the move on Dorsey Schrader, who has led from the pole and has led every lap. And each time they go to Big Bend at the end of the front straightaway, Fellows keeps trying to work in that high line and make a pass to the outside, because Schrader is not about to give up the inside of the racetrack.
Mike, Dorsey told me that this turn they're about to approach here, as they go over this hill crest, he has to let off right here a little bit, or the nose of the car would get air under it and possibly flip the car. In other words, he has to let off as the car is cresting that hill.
You can hear the engine revs rise as they go. There's another big drop here too, quite sickening. At the bottom there, the road suddenly flattens out. You've really got to get the car tucked in. Dorsey there using every inch of road, which you've got to use on this fairly long front straightaway. A lot smoother than it used to be, but as you can see, still pretty bumpy on the approach to Big Bend.
The track repaved 3 years ago, complete repaving here at Lime Rock Park, and the paddock newly paved this year.
God, the paddock's wonderful.
It's great.
Like home. I mean, no dust and mud at last. Absolutely wonderful. Look at Boris Said giving Tommy Kendall in the 11 car a pretty good run for his money.
Kendall, of course, was so fast last week at Mosport. He had trouble at the start when he was hit from behind by another car. And twice he charged through the pack, but today he doesn't seem to have that edge, does he, in speed?
No, he certainly doesn't. And Boris Said, of course, was quickest in qualifying and practice, and of course got put back into 5th spot. And he's having a job getting further forward than that.
Down to the bottom of the hill, and just as the suspension loads, it starts to come down and settle. That's when you got to make that turn in. Mistime it, and you're off to the gravel and the tire wall. One
of these big 2,600-pound cars with nearly 600 horsepower. I mean, that is a bit of a gut-wrenching turn.
Let's check with the Tom Gloy pit. Here's Bart.
Tom Gloy, I see you have a monitor in the pit. You're watching the race as it unfolds. Dorsey started first with the 5th fastest time, but obviously he's pretty quick. Has he talked to you about how he's doing out there?
No, we haven't had any discussions at the moment. You know, the way the inversion is, if you're not going to be first, you might as well be 5th. So Dorsey's run here from the front a lot. He understands what he needs to do. He just needs to stay out front and run as easy as he can.
Now, how about morning warm-up? I talked to Dorsey. He said the car felt really good. Did you make some changes overnight?
Yeah, he was really quick in the morning warm-up, so we're hopeful for the event.
Well, they got a front row seat here, watching on TV and on the track behind them. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Bart. What's interesting about Dorsey's race setup, Goodyear has a hard and a soft compound tire here. He is the only driver with the harder compound on 3 corners and the soft compound on the right front only. He says he can get enough heat in those rear tires with the hard compound to make them work like the 430s.
Well, I mean, he would know. He's driven here so many times. But as Sam said at the beginning of the show, Lime Rock is almost like an oval. It's only got that one left-hander that we've just been looking at. Otherwise, everything else is a right-hand turn and puts tremendous strain on the left side tires, especially the left rear when they want to put power down to go up this hill, power down out of Big Bend. So the left side tires take a real beating here.
And uncorrected, Scott Sharp has the same tire setup on his car.
Plus, it's chilly today, you guys. Mid-60s, and it's cloudy. The sun is not really beating down onto the track at all. You know, what Dorsey told me, you see him leading here moments before the start, was he said what makes it so hard to drive here these days is the turns. You get some grip in the turn for a few seconds, and then it lets go, and then you get grip again, and then it lets go. So, I mean, you're getting these G-forces alternating on and off on your body all the way around the track.
These cars do develop quite a bit of G-force. They've got quite good downforce. They use all the bodywork, the top surface. They're not allowed to use the undersurface. And there's old Greg Pickett, the most experienced driver in here, starting his 134th Trans Am start, and he's hanging right in there with that Chevrolet. We've got a Ford leading, 2 Chevrolets following, and a Ford in 4th.
It's an interesting racetrack. The corners are flat, but you can almost think of that uphill turn as a bank turn, and the downhill, because you get such loading when you hit the bottom of the hill, you can almost think of it as a bank turn, but it sure doesn't look it, does it?
No, that loading at the bottom of the hill, like you mentioned, actually gives you a bit of grip right at the time you need it, and turning into the uphill, as you say, because it's going uphill, you get some good grip there too.
A very challenging track to drive as the Trans Am Championship Tour continues. 10 laps are complete. Down hero is Norwalk, Connecticut's Scott Sharp, who is on pit road. Bart Kendall.
Yeah, you can see they're putting the housing back on over the shifter. It looks like Scott had a problem with the shifter. They had that off. They were rocking the car back and forth. It looked like it might have been stuck in a gear or stuck between gears. They've shut the engine off, but he did complain of a balky shifter. They're going to try to probably get out there and see if they can get some points, but right now any chance of victory is gone. One other quick note on Ron Fellows, running a strong second. Talked to Dennis LaCava, his crew chief. He said Ron hasn't been talking to him, and that's usually a good sign. Back to you guys.
Scott Sharp's dad, Bob, car dealer here in Wilton, Connecticut, and winner of many SCCA national races here at Lime Rock and several championships.
And of course, Scott, the current and first IRL champion as a result of that. You see him now resuming the race here, but of course, a couple, 3 laps back. But after that nearly 500-mile run yesterday, look at this battle for the lead.
Boy, Fellows is just relentless in trying to use the draft, and the inside, he's under Dorsey. Almost there in Big Bend. He had just an opening and couldn't capitalize.
How about that?
Well, of course, both these guys, Dorsey is now driving defensively, and of course Ron Fellows is driving offensively to try and get around him, which is actually slowing both of them up slightly, which of course is playing right into the hands of old Greg Pickett there, hanging right there in 3rd spot, and surprisingly they're still pulling away from Tommy Kendall, back in 4th, and of course, Boris said in 4th, and Tommy Kendall in 5th.
Yes, let's show you top of the screen. Now here is Fellows looking to the outside. Dorsey comes up to cover that spot. Fellows dives right down to the curbing. Just gets the nose under.
But no, because Dorsey knows that if you occupy the middle of the center part of that turn.
Here we go around the outside.
See, but he's still going to come out of here in the lead. Dorsey is. Fellows will take the lead going into the S's.
Right.
Yeah.
He's online now, and Dorsey's up to the outside. Oh, this is great.
Oh, Dorsey may have a chance.
Now Dorsey's got the bottom.
Think so.
Oof.
A little heat. Dorsey breathed it, didn't he? Just a second, and that let Rob right by.
He had to breathe it there to let. Otherwise, he'd have
washed the nose right out.
Now, this is the no-name straight, which, as you can see, is not straight at all. This is the climbing turn. Now they're thick in some of the slower traffic. There's the 21 car at the back there. That's Ted Sullivan, who's no doubt looking in his mirror, desperately trying to keep out of everybody's way.
And watch out for the white car starting to be part of this picture, which Boris said. You will see him soon because he's up to 4th now.
And of course, there's Scott Sharp getting involved. He's trying to stay well out of the way. He knows he's 2 laps down. On the other hand, of course, it's very much. Whoa,
there's Boris said he just grabbed 3rd from Greg Pickett.
He did, and Tommy Kendall's going to try and do the same thing. Whoa, a clutch of lap traffic there. That's the 23 car of.
But Kendall was easily passed by Said. That which surprises me. Kendall seems to have no teeth today. No, at least not yet.
And he was 2nd fastest qualifier too. So not like Tommy to be off the pace.
And he's 3rd in the championship. So it's an unusual day for him. Doesn't take much to miss the setup by just a little bit.
Let's go to pit road, Bart.
Sam, you were just talking about how there's no teeth in Tommy's car right now. I'm here with Danny Banks, crew manager. Now, Tommy was 2nd quickest. He's dropped back a little bit. Boris is a little quicker. Has Tommy told you if the car's okay?
Well, we're just trying to save the tires a little bit right now, and on a full tank, Boris's car's a little bit better. So we'll just see how it goes. Boris needs to run and really do good, and Kendall's trying to get all the points we can get. So Boris has nothing to lose to win this thing, so that's what we're on to right now.
Another question, are there any team orders? You said Tom's running for the championship, Boris is running for a win. Any team orders among the drivers?
No, I just asked Kendall if he didn't want to run any faster than that. We'd let Boris try to go to the front and see what he could do. And Kendall said, okay, so that's what we're doing right now. Let Boris do the work for us and see what happens at the end.
Boris is looking good. They're hoping that Tommy's race comes to him in the last half. Back to you guys.
So a little bit of cooperation there among the Roush teammates.
Well, they are the only car. They have a combination on their cars of 600s on the left side and 430s on the right. Ron Fellows has been very conservative. Got 600s all around, as has Jamie Gallus. So they're going to be able to abuse their tires just a little bit more than Tommy Kendall and Boris said, who are going to have to bathe them just a little bit.
You see Boris starting to catch the leaders now. He's very much a factor in this white number 14. Earlier in this very exciting weekend at Lime Rock, which combines the racing of SCCA and IMSA cars, Boris said had a terrific race that David, you and I had a chance to call. He won easily with a Mustang earlier in a different class.
In the Touring World Challenge.
He was awesome, wasn't he?
Absolutely awesome, yeah, because there were 58 cars, folks, 58 cars on his 1.5 mile circuit. I tell you, it was traffic from start to finish, and old Boris weaved his way through the lot, so he's used to weaving his way through traffic around his track.
Ron Fellows out front,
pulling away from Dorsey Schrader.
Boris Sett grew up, did part of his growing up here in Connecticut. His dad, Bob, a well-known sports car driver of the 50s.
This
And
is
here's
on
Jamie
board
Gallus.
with Jamie Gallus. Looking ahead to Paul Gentilozzi, who, of course, won the last race up at Mosport. If there's anybody with a more ready smile on his face than Paul Gentilozzi, I don't know who it is. Do you? I mean, he's always grinning and kidding people. But Jamie has got to make up some time. He has a very slight lead in the championship over Dorsey, and languishing back here is not helping him. He's not having a great day.
Well,
there he is.
That's 7th and 8th spot you're looking at now. Gentilozzi 7th, Jamie Gallus 8th. That's not where either of them want to be. Both previous winners this year.
What Jamie needs is a full course caution, because this race is expected to run without a pit stop, and he is well back of the lead cars. There's the left-hander. This is the only bank turn on the course. If you get way down to the bottom there in that right-hander, you get a little bit of banking, and believe me, it's not much.
No, and that's what gives him a good shot. And this is the banking you're talking about. Just right there, the road works for you as it swings uphill, but you've got to be real careful when you come over the top, because as you say, if you get too close to the left-hand edge, find yourself going over the hedge. And no one knows that better than Sammy.
Oh, no, you're going to refer to that oak tree that the parts of my car are still embedded in? Not that story again, David. That's not the only part of the track I've been on.
Anybody who hasn't been off there, raise their hand. Right? No hands, none of us. All right, here's Bart down to the Gentilozzi pit.
Mark Strickland, what a difference a week makes. Last year, Paul had last week, Paul had a great race at Mosport. Looks like he's struggling a bit out there. What's he saying to you?
He hasn't said anything to us yet, but Lime Rock has been a place where we've struggled in the past. We had to struggle from the first time out here this weekend. Just before the race, we took a big gamble and changed the whole car. Looks like we might not have gambled in the right direction, but there's a lot of laps to go yet, so we're hoping for a break.
What about Bill's car? Same thing with him?
Bill seems to be doing okay. He's running a good steady pace.
Well, big difference a week makes, but still got a bit to go. Back to you guys.
Tough track to drive, Lime Rock Park, if you miss the setup. Trans Am racing continues after this. Kendall down there in pit box 1 in the all-sport Roush pit. He is in for a stop under green. Bart?
Yeah, I was at the other end of the pits. I'm running down there. It looks like all they did is they changed right side tires. It didn't look like they did anything else. I'll get a story with Danny Binks in a minute. Back to you guys.
So Kendall back to speed, but look, he has lost touch with the traffic. Up front, Ron Fellows, the Sunoco Camaro, and the Revestas Ford Mustang of Dorsey Schrader have company. It's that unsponsored Roush Mustang. The white car there now balked in traffic.
Badly balked by John Miller there in the 64 car, and the Rain-X number 6 of Greg Pickett still hanging right in there, although obviously Boris said got around him to take away that third spot, but the two leaders pulled out just a few feet there on Boris, who had made up a lot of ground on them.
As we went to break, Boris said was right up Dorsey Schrader's tailpipe. They pull up on Frank Ciampatini of New Jersey to put him a lap down.
And here's Tommy Kendall, who's very much in danger of being put a lap down himself, unless he can find some more speed. Dorsey Schrader goes to the outside into turn 1.
Let's check in pit road.
Down here with Danny Binks. Danny's talking to a crewman for a second here, and they're monitoring closely. Danny has his stopwatch out. He's checking the gap between the lead cars of Fellows and Dorsey and Tommy to make sure he doesn't get lapped. They're hoping for a yellow now. Danny, what happened? Looked like you just changed right side tires. What was the problem?
He must have ran over something. He got a flat. He said he thought it was a rear end at first, and just the rear tire went down. So we got a new one on there. We're 6 seconds in front of Ron. Hopefully, maybe we get a yellow here. Just wait and see. We're still, I think we're like 14th right now. See what happens.
They could really use yellow.
Well, the important thing is that he's on the lead lap. He did not lose a lap.
No, and he can probably pull up to 6th or 7th spot. He's got lots of clear road in front of him. And of course, we've seen Tommy Kendall do it. I think he does it on purpose. You know, he did this at Mosport last year. He did it at Mosport this year. He comes in, changes tires, and rockets through the field, and consistently comes in the top 3 doing that.
Well, I'll tell you, Ron Fellows has been unable to pull away from Dorsey, and Boris said has again made up this ground, guys. I mean, he is able. He's the fastest moving car on the track. You see him there in the white Mustang. Now watch when he goes into these turns. He takes a shallower line than the other guys in. He just seems to have more grip and a little more car control as he comes out, not as much wheel spin.
And this is his really good spot.
Right up here.
The rising turn. You watch him leap up this hill. Plus he do it wrong.
No, he didn't. He did it right, and he picked up a car length. Look at that. See, he was about 3 back. Now he's 2 back.
He certainly is. Old Boris has got that corner sussed right out, going right to the edge of the road. They've all got those 600 Goodyears on the left. Boris and Dorsey have got 430s on the right, which should help them a little bit through that left-hander turn 2. But as you said, Mike, Ron not pulling away, got in front, and I thought he might sort of rock it off, but he's not, is he?
No, Schrader really liked his setup this morning. They practiced on the race setup at nearly qualifying speed. So for him to keep Fellows in sight, I wonder if Dorsey will wait on a traffic opportunity, because right now he seems to be running just at a comfortable pace, 3 car lengths back of Ron Fellows. Boris Said, I think, is the man to watch. As far as somebody who's motivated, who's racing at his home track, a place he's put on a lot of laps, and as Bart pointed out, has nothing to lose and everything to gain by just going for the victory and not running for points.
Well, as Boris said, is that...
Oh! That was Dorsey Schrader put a wheel right over the edge there at West Bend. West Bend, a very difficult turn. It's very fast and very flat. It absolutely has nothing to help you at all. And it's even difficult to pick it up when you're low in a race car. And obviously they both slid their wheels over the edge there.
David, don't you think West Bend is the turn that maybe last master of this whole track? There's just something weird about it. It's hard to get it right.
It's narrow and it's flat and it's very fast, and it is difficult to master. Here you see it now. Boris coming around and gets showered with gravel from young Mr. Schrader and joins him by putting the wheel over the edge. Of course, you don't want to do that too often because that can really cut a tire down.
The deceptive thing about West Bend is if you apex that corner too early, there is not enough racetrack to get out of the turn. And
you're going to be
what
where
Dorsey
they were,
found.
right?
Been there, done that. Got the broken fiberglass. All right, we'll be right back to Lime Rock Park. Lime Rock Park, where you're chasing the leader, Ron Fellows, and he's about to be in heavy traffic. Dorsey Schrader, Boris Said, Greg Pickett tracking that Sunoco Camaro of Fellows. Here he comes down the front straightaway, and lots of race traffic. Ninth place battle just ahead.
It's Camaro, Mustang, Mustang, Camaro. For those who follow the manufacturer's battle, which of course is in many ways the main reason for this championship, is to showcase these cars.
Right in front of them is R.J. Valentine in the 7 car, John Gooding in the 16 car, so that's a Camaro and a Ford. And these two guys are having a big battle for 10th spot. Right behind them comes, and there's Dale Phelan behind them. Right behind them is going to approach there to come. Our leading trip. Oh, it's going to be fun, isn't it?
And Fellows got balked by a slower car at the uphill, which is a tough place to try to dive bomb a pass.
Going past a slower car there on the approach to West Bend, which of course gets you off to a bad start for that very fast corner.
Riding with Jamie Gallus there for a second in the S's.
Here come the leaders. There's Fellows. Second pack of cars are your leaders, bearing down on a battle for 9th place.
Because Dale Phelan, I tell you, was not looking in his mirror. He's looking at John Gooding in front of him. And whoa! Oh, Boris Said nearly had Dorsey Schrader there on the entry to Big Bend.
Let's go to the Chevrolet pit. Here's Bart.
Yeah, you're looking at Don Murphy. He's got his eyes intently fixed on the last corner here. We'll speak to him in a minute. He's looking for his driver, Jamie Gallus, who's embroiled in a pretty heated battle with Paul Gentilozzi here as they go by. He clicks the watch. Don, Jamie's the points leader here, so I guess the key is to finish the races. Is the car getting better for him as he goes along here?
Well, Jamie hasn't said anything to us during the course of this race. He is a points leader right now, but we never set the Camaro out on this racetrack without thinking we can go to the front. He's holding station right now to the leaders. He's gaining on the next position about 1 second a lap. He's P6 right now, so we just have to wait and see what happens.
So they're pretty confident down here. A quick update on Dennis LaCava, the crew chief for Ron Fellows. He said Ron hasn't said anything. When Ron doesn't talk on the radio, that's usually a good sign. All you got to do is look at the racetrack, see him leading to know that that's the case. Back to you guys.
There is Gallus, and he has close company there. One of the Highway Master Camaros.
That 6th and 7th spot, they seem to be pretty much on their own at the moment, having got around Paul Gentilozzi. I thought that Jamie Gallus would probably pull away. He looked like he was a lot quicker than Gentilozzi, and Gentilozzi may have been holding him up, but obviously not the case. These two Chevrolet Camaros very evenly matched. And this guy, of course, number 11, the Ford Mustang of Tommy Kendall, is in fact catching them up slowly but surely.
He's in 7th place right now, and Kendall is 8th in closing.
This is going to scramble the championship standings, though, because Dorsey has a very good chance, if he stays where he is, of moving ahead of Jamie Gallus at the end of the day in the championship, and I think it's going to hurt Tommy Kendall, too.
It will hurt Tommy Kendall. It'll hurt Paul Gentilozzi. It'll help Ron Fellows enormously to finish in the lead.
Let's get back to the leaders, where race traffic has split them into 2 groups as they work around Dale Phelan.
Boris has again lost touch with the lead pair.
R.J. Valentine going wide down a number 7 car, and that allows...
You're on board with Dorsey here.
Boy, the lap cars can help you or hurt you depending on where you catch them.
Boris Said has yet to get around R.J. Valentine in that number 7 car.
And right behind, Boris said, still hanging tough with that lead pack, is Greg Pickett. Let's go to his pit, Bart.
Yeah, you're standing here looking at Mike Pickett, Greg's son, who's monitoring the radio. Your dad's hanging in there pretty good. He's right behind Boris for 4th place. Has he talked to you at all?
Yeah, he says.
You can see his Pickett is flashing by. He's taking a look at him.
Yeah, he says everything's going good. He's just letting some time go by and see what we can do at the end.
Now, I know you started with a different compound. You started 600s and 430s all the way around. The 600 and 430s. Does he have enough tires at the end of the race, you think?
Yeah, it says the tires are fine. Everything's fine. He's just trying to get by his teammate right now, so we're trying to communicate with his teammates and trying to get him through the traffic.
Well, as David and Sam know, there's probably not a lot of guys out there who have more experience than Greg Pickett. He's looking good. Back to you guys.
Oh, he just absolutely had the worst of 2 worlds there, because R.J. Valentine, he came up to lap a slower car and he had to follow them both down no-name straight. Lost a ton of time there. Probably lost about 4 seconds.
I think it'll be a long talk in the transporter after this race.
Well, R.J. was kind of trapped himself. They were catching up with that white car there, and just, oh, golly, that's just a nightmare. Look at the difference, the whole straightaway back.
Traffic has changed the complexion of this race. Ron Fellows in the Camaro leads it from Dorsey Schrader's Mustang. As we watch Ron Fellows put on a driving display, he took advantage of Dorsey Schrader in race traffic. Schrader has stayed right in his tire tracks ever since. Boris Said has gotten right up to Schrader's bumper, but traffic has split him from this lead duo as we are past the halfway point.
So now Boris Said has got to work his way back up to that group, and there you see Tommy Kendall, who made a pit stop, a disastrous pit stop to change tires on green. Lost a bit of time, came out just in front of the lead pack onto the main straight, and he has in fact pulled away from them again and is catching up with, now that's Scott Sharp in front of him, who's 2 laps down. He also had to make a stop for a jammed gear shifter, we think. And in front of them, just around that corner, is a good battle for a 6th and 7th spot between Jamie Gallas and Paul Gianellosi. And Tommy Kendall is trying to wind those 2 guys in. He's going to have to get around Scott Sharp first.
He's on the lead lap in 8th place. He drafts Sharp down the front straightaway. And Sam, is that about the only place here where a draft really works, is this front stretch?
I'm not sure that was really a good draft, but yeah, it is the only place you could hope to make one work. The idea is to stay in right behind the other guy and then move out right at the last minute. But that's a tricky move, too, because it takes you right into the bumpier part of the inside of that first turn.
And, of course, you've also got to assume that the guy that you're going to whip out and is not going to occupy the piece of road that you want to occupy going into Big Bend.
Precisely.
Back to pit road.
Max Jones, crew chief, or team manager, I should say, for both Boris Said and Tommy Kendall. Boris is hanging in there, but he fell back a little bit. Has he talked to you about the car?
Yeah, he said he had some intermittent mist going on there in the beginning, but it seems like it's cleared back up, and he's running hard, so he's pulling away from Pickett and just trying to stay with the leaders. I think he fell back a little bit because of traffic. So.
Now, what about Tommy? He got out about 6 seconds ahead of Ron and Dorsey. Seems to be pulling away. Has he talked to you at all?
Yeah, I think he's pulling away. He's running. Last time I checked, he was running about a second a lap faster. And I think a lot of it was due to traffic, and we'll just have to see. You know, we had a little bad luck there, getting a flat tire. So we're just hoping for a yellow, but I don't know.
They're doing their prayer down here for a yellow. Back to you guys.
Well, that's that momentum issue we talked about, and when Boris got held up in the traffic, it really did hurt him. Now, again, he's catching up. I reckon he is the fastest car on the track, but he doesn't seem to be able to move through traffic as well as the 2 leaders.
Well, these 2 leaders now have got some traffic in the worst point, right at this left-right complex.
They're going to lose some ground,
aren't they?
follow
him going down no-name straight, but of course Boris too is going to catch him on no-name straight, which, as we've already established, is not straight. As Dorsey tries to go down and box him in, but it didn't work. The slower car moved over, gave them room. There's Boris coming up.
That was the break Boris said.
Yes, it is. Look at that.
Ciampatini moved to the outside, and as both Fellows and Schrader got hard on the brake, right there was Boris Said.
Dorsey will be looking in his mirror now. God, not him again.
Here he comes again. You know, sometimes when you have a car that is as beautiful as Ron Fellows and as distinctive, people will move over for it. Whereas Boris Said's looks like so kind of generic, doesn't it? They may not have even realized that it was who was in that car and the significance of it.
Well, they used to have JR's Garage on the side of that car. That's Jack Roush's mail order speed parts house, but They didn't want folks to think that they had a full-time sponsor, so they took it off. They're looking for sponsorship. So you're right, the car looks like one of those generic brands. Maybe they'll put barcodes on the side of it or something.
Why not put Mike Joy there? Here's the battle for 10th with R.J. Valentine looking awfully smooth, but not really, again, not really fast today.
And he's holding off Dale Phelan in the red and white car there. Dale, of course, had that horrendous crash at Long Beach.
Yeah, it's good to see him back.
Broke his foot, but he came back and he was limping a bit at Mossport last week, but will be getting better every week. Hanging right in there.
Phelan is driving the car that Tommy Kendall ran 2 seasons ago that he purchased over the winter from Roush Racing. And Sed is in the car that Tom Kendall drove here to a second-place finish last year.
Dale Phelan having to go down the outside, back with the 3 leaders again. More lap traffic in front of them. Ron Fellows still hanging on in the Camaro in front of the 2 Ford Mustangs as they take that right-hand sweep onto the no-name straight. Dorsey using all of the road there across both those apexes. Now then, this slower car, the 44 car, is going to slow them. That's Dominic Toto. Is going to slow them as they go up the uphill just a little bit. Oh, Sed will want to get by before they get to West Bend here.
Let's go down to Schrader's pits. Here's Bart.
Tom Goy still intently watching to monitor. Dorsey and Ron are tooth and nail out there as he talked to you about it.
No, he's concentrating 100%. He's doing a great job.
You know, when Dorsey's speechless, it must be busy out there. Now, what about Brian? What about Brian Simo? Now, Brian, this is only the 2nd race for him in the new car. He must be getting comfortable. He's running pretty well out there. Has he said anything?
No, I've been monitoring Dorsey Channel, so I'm not sure about Brian. I think he's running real well. He's in 5th place. I think he's happy, and we'd like to get him home, get him on a podium.
Well, they're hopeful down here in the Goy pit. Back to you guys.
The top 3 stay very close together. The Sunoco Camaro of Ron Fellows, the Rebestos Ford of Dorsey Schrader, and the Jack Roush Ford of Boris Sed. We'll be right back. Riding with Jamie Gallus down the front straightaway of Lime Rock Park. Going to the inside, and there's Tom Kendall in the picture in this battle with Gentilozzi. Or excuse me, that's Maluzio driving the Mannheim Auctions Camaro. That they were
there in the back of the picture was Tommy Kendall. Tommy Kendall's only about 4 seconds behind, so these 2 guys are duking it out with each other, and unbeknown to them, or maybe known to them, Tommy Kendall is creeping up behind them.
Kendall is going to very much get in contact before the end of this race. All the race is winding down, and I think, you know, it's certainly up front, Dorsey Schrader is running out of time too.
Well, I wonder if he's out of time. I wonder if he or Boris Sed is running out of tires. Fellows is really setting a fast pace. Here he is.
Fellows is doing just a beautiful job. He's such a low-key guy. I had the honor of watching the Indy 500 and the Michigan 500 with him yesterday at my house. He just sits there absorbing everything, not really intruding much. He's just a great guy. But you can see, I mean, this is the toughest, wouldn't you say, David? This is a really tough race to run. Traffic everywhere. Pressure from Dorsey, who knows the track better than anybody, all throughout the race. He's been under incredible pressure.
And this is the sort of thing he doesn't want. 2 guys that are being lapped, overtaking each other right in front of them, blocking the straight at the first part. What to do, lift out, go for it.
Yeah, making it a crapshoot. What do you do?
Absolutely. Yeah. Scott Sharp now giving these guys tons of room. This is pretty good for Scott Sharp, who's actually lying 6th in the championship. He really doesn't want to give up any points if he can help it.
And give a call to John Miller in the 64. As soon as the leaders got under him, he jumped right off the throttle and let that whole train by so that he wouldn't affect the outcome of this race.
Yeah, both of them did a sterling job there in letting these leaders get on with the race. Scott Sharp tags on now. You know, he really is as quick as these guys. He had that gearbox jammed up. So that put him right out of the running today, and disappointing for him after his 500-mile run yesterday in Indianapolis.
Of course.
Oh, Sed! And he saved it.
Oh, but not totally.
Wow. Oh. Wow. Whoa. If his heart's going as fast as mine. Is he headed for the picture? He must have got a flat tire. He's got a flat tire.
Ah, that's a shame.
And
now here comes Dorsey on the right side. He's taking a look at... that's amazing.
Let's go to Bart.
Boris says number 14 Mustang is coming into the pits. They complained about tires. You can see they're working around. They're going to jack up the left side of the car. He got a little loose out there. They're really taking a close look at the left rear tire. They're replacing it. It doesn't look like there's any blisters on there. That's the only tire they're replacing so far is the left rear. I was just about to ask Max Jones about the tires. We heard on the broadcast that Boris got real sideways. He came right in after that. This should be the only change they make, and he's on his way.
These cars have so much horsepower and accelerate so hard that on a right turn track like Lime Rock Park, you pretty much run the car off the left rear tire. And Boris said may have used his up. Let's show you what happened here. Now that's after he got it way loose and was just struggling for control.
Wow, that was a big slide as they went through West Bend at the top of the hill, and it took him all the way down the downhill to collect himself together. Now he's going to the left hand, and he's going slowly. I think something's gone wrong with the rear suspension of that car.
That's
was
too bad.
Was it the tire,
because
or was it the rear end where something went wrong?
Yeah, look at it.
So you can see he's fussing with it, trying to figure out what it is. The
differential or a drive shaft broken, I would say.
Anyway, he's out.
What a shame, because Boris said was the fastest qualifier over the weekend. Had to start from that 5th spot. Here come the leaders. So he's a lap down, and look at Dorsey Schrader now, all over Mr. Fellows like the proverbial cheapo pseudo.
One of these two men is going to probably become the first to repeat as a winner this year. Of course, Ron Fellows
unless
won.
they both dive into the bank.
Oh, David.
Exactly, which would hand the race to Greg Pickett, and Pickett has not won this year.
Well,
so anything can happen. Yeah.
Schrader has never lost a Trans Am race at Lime Rock Park. 1989 and 1995 drove to victory lane both times. He also, for Jack Roush, won some IMSA GTO races here at Lime Rock in a championship.
Well, he's certainly giving Ron a run for his money at the moment. We've got just 8 laps to go.
Tom Kendall you're riding with now, and look at him catch that battle, and here toward mid-pack, Valentine and Phelan.
Not 8 laps ago, 14 laps ago. What am I talking about? As we watch R.J. Valentine. And look at this now. Tommy Kendall in the 11 car has caught up with Jamie Gallus and Gentilozzi. Gentilozzi having got around Gallus again. We thought that when Gallus got around Gentilozzi, he'd pull away. He did not. They've been dicing it out with each other, and Tommy Kendall in that Ford from, again, one of his pit stop and changing tire routines has caught right up to them.
5th place battle here. Boris Said has been called pit side by the SCCA Pro Racing officials.
Oh, listen to him go over that hill.
Yeah,
that's
you can
really
hear the engine revs ride.
Here we're on board with Jamie Gallus looking at Bart. Here we go, Bart, over to you.
I'm down here in the Roush Racing pit, and I can see Boris Said coming in. Danny Binks has his head down. Max Jones, they were conferring. Boris's car was really, really wiggly out there, and they said, hey, if he's dangerous out there, it's going to hurt something, make sure he comes in. It's obviously something more than a tire. They're going to jack it up, take a look at the rear end. It could be something in suspension or in the rear, and they're going to take a real close look at it. But it looks like any chance Boris had to win is out the window. Back to you guys.
Well, they're trying to see if the differential is unlocked or...
Certainly the way that wheel's turning, it doesn't look right, does it?
Back to the 5th place battle.
This is Paul Gentilozzi in the black and red car there, running 5th with Jamie Gallus in 6th, and now Tommy Kendall in 7th. Very much has come into the picture after that pit stop.
What a great comeback for Kendall. Remember, he was on the tail end of the lead lap when he came out of the pits. He has made up a lot of ground, as you saw Gallus climb the inside curve there as you ride in the all-sport Mustang down the front straightaway.
Jamie Gallus going to the inside, trying to either block Kendall out or think he's going to go down the inside of Gentilozzi. Neither thing happened. Gentilozzi still just in front of him there. Gentilozzi going a little bit wide there, just make a real tight apex. Tommy Kendall makes a hugely tight apex, and try it now. Is he going to try on this left-hander?
This is where you really...
much quicker than Jamie Gallus through there.
that straightaway is so short. There's just not time to jump under somebody there.
Well, you really feel the weight of the cars, don't you? You see them struggling for purchase there.
Lap traffic ahead again, playing a major part. Oh, squeezing by now down to West Bend. There's not much room here.
Look to the inside of a lap car here, bottom of the turn, that demon drop, and they'll all get by. Let's go to the pits.
Oh, and Tommy Kendall gets down the inside as they come onto the straightaway.
This is a...
Boris Said, got to be a big disappointment to you. Running so strong, quickest time, you were 3rd, and what happened out there?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, the Roush guys gave me a great car. I mean, we're just biding our time, waiting for about 10 to go and really charge the leaders, and I think we had something for them. But fortunately, rear differential broke, and just one of those little mechanical things that happen.
Now, did you feel it coming on, or was it sort of an all-of-a-sudden deal?
That was all of a sudden going through West Bend. It just snapped sideways, and I thought it could have been a flat, but it wasn't, so it's too bad.
Well, Boris Said's had better luck. He had better luck when he won earlier this weekend, not in the Trans Am race. Back to you guys.
Thanks a lot.
Tom Kendall past Jamie Gallus, and now looking at the Camaro of Paul Gentilozzi. This is the battle for 5th place, and it's as good as the one up front. We'll be right back with Trans Am racing from Lime Rock Park. 10 laps to go. Stop at the end of the no-name straightaway just before the climbing turn. His Sunoco Camaro is in the grass, a bit of steam coming out from beneath the hood.
Oh, if this is an engine problem, it's going to be his 3rd one so far this season. That just tears the heart out of a season.
Bart, what's the story?
Well, I'm down here with Dennis LaCava, crew chief for Fellows. Dennis, what did Ron say? I heard he pulled over.
He said something broke. He's not sure what. Something in the drivetrain. We're not sure. We'll have to say.
You guys had a great run going. You've had a streak of bad luck. How does that affect your outlook here? I said, how does that affect your outlook? You're a little behind in points now.
Yeah, well, yeah, we really are, but we're not giving up. We never give up.
Well, they got the attitude. They'll be back.
Well, there's lots of races to go yet, and Ron Fellows has certainly been the class of field the last couple of weeks, but look at Dorsey Schrader now on his own out front, going through some lap traffic. That's John Gooding in the 16 car.
And Don Sack to the outside of that Oldsmobile. Don said, hey, he said, mention us little guys. So, hey, little guy.
Well, yeah, he's actually not a little guy. He's a huge guy.
He's a big guy, but he means the privateers, the fellas that are weekend racers that come out here, don't race this series for a living, but race it because they enjoy it. And Don Sack's having as much fun as maybe anybody out there right now, except possibly Dorsey Schrader.
The interesting thing is Dorsey was one of those little guys, so to speak, for many years, an amateur racer, and then he suddenly caught on at I mean, he's 43 now, and of course now he's got the world by the tail. I mean, it's just fantastic.
Is he only 43?
Yes.
There you see this tremendous battle, which is now must be for 4th spot, I suppose. 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Well, Gallus has gotten back in front of Tommy Kendall.
Jamie Gallus in the center of those 3 cars racing right now, the blue and white nose car. Doing a beautiful job. David and I have been watching him, and he has a nice tight line, and I don't think he's hurting his tires much. Do you, David?
No, he's not, and as they come up to the rising turn, so somehow Gallus got around Tommy Kendall. We didn't see that. In front of them both is still Paul Gentilozzi.
Fellows.
We've been there, David, haven't we?
We certainly have. In that very spot, I seem to remember sitting watching a race go by at one stage. Ron Fellows,
he was
really
doing a
2 in a row.
job.
I mean, boy, it's just going to be so disheartening for him. If it wasn't the engine, it was something else, and that is just really very heartbreaking. 5 laps to go.
So, boy, that battle that he had with Dorsey, of course, pushed Dorsey so far to the front that now Dorsey is in that enviable position of having a really big lead on a track which he can easily hold that lead on.
It's about 14 seconds right now over Greg Pickett, who's inherited 2nd spot, and Brian Simo. We've not seen much of the Valvoline machine today, but Simo has now moved up into 3rd. Here's the Rebestis Mustang of Dorsey Schrader trying to win his 3rd consecutive, for him, Trans Am race at Lime Rock Park. Schrader in the Mustang, Pickett in the Camaro, trying to make a last-minute charge. We'll be right back. To the uphill turn for the final time. Winner here in 1989 and 1995. Across the back straightaway to West Bend for the final time.
He won earlier this year at Phoenix. He will be the first double winner so far this year.
5 for 5 going into this event, and out of the downhill turn to the front straightaway, and the checkered flag, Dorsey Schrader. And the Rebestis Ford Mustang of Tom Gloy claims its 2nd victory of 1996.
So that is the first repeat winner in the series so far. Out of the 5 races before, we had 5 different winners. Now we've got a repeat. Dorsey Schrader winning in the heat of Phoenix just a few weeks back.
Dorsey Schrader's record at Lime Rock remains intact. He has run 3 Trans Am races here, and he has won them all.
And he wins for Ford and for Mustang. Here's the battle for 3rd.
This is Tommy Kendall, who's caught right up with Greg Pickett right there in front of him. Is he going to be able to get him before the start finish? It's going to be pretty tough going.
Got a good run at him down the downhill as Pickett tapped the brake, and it's Kendall.
Kendall takes 2nd spot after going right to the back of the field, changing zone.
3rd place behind Pickett. And Kendall will end up in 3rd. There is Schrader on the victory lap. A well-earned win for Dorsey Schrader coming at the expense of Ron Fellows, who took the lead early from Schrader and had something come unglued. There's Schrader getting, or rather Fellows getting a ride from Scott Sharp.
Who also had a very disappointing day. Scott Sharp, coming off the Indy 500 yesterday, had to make a stop for a gear selector problem, 2 laps. Tommy Kendall was in and out, changed the tire, and managed to pull back to 3rd spot, and had an absolutely blinding race through the field. So poor old Scott Sharp's points not looking too good for the championship, nor Ron Fellows. But we do have a lot of races to go.
It's only about 40% of the way through this very long and obviously exciting season
events
coming up.
Dorsey Schrader is in victory lane, getting congratulated by the Tom Gloy crew. Let's go to Bart.
Oh, you can see they're pushing the car away. Dorsey hasn't stepped on the brakes yet. He's so excited here, he's forgotten the brakes. He's getting his helmet out. And if we get the car stopped here, we can get a word from him. There he is, looking nice and fresh. Hey, Dors, great job. It looked a lot easier than it was, I bet, huh?
Yeah, you know, we usually talk about pacing ourselves and running a slow pace early. There was no slow pace. You know, Ronnie pressured me real hard. He got by me. We ran 10/10 the whole day. Boris is right behind me. This car was perfect. We didn't lose a bit. I don't know what happened to those guys, but thank God, my guys. I want to dedicate this win to Joe Lozano. He's back home recuperating. We wish him well. He builds our motors and gives us the thunder, man. So get well, Joe.
Hey, Doris, any close calls out there? The car looked like it was perfect all day. No bobbles. Some other people had some trouble. What about yourself?
We were pretty good. I had a couple slips and slides. Nothing really major. You know, I got in the traffic with something else. When Ronnie and I were running, he was doing real aggressive moves to get by people, and I had to stick with him at all costs. And, you know, Lord looked down on us today. We didn't have hardly a bump. He bumped me once, but, you know, we ran 1, 2, 3, 4 side by side. And Ron Fellows, I take my hat off to him, man. Not a lot of guys will give you enough room. He gave me enough room, so that's a shame for him. He's having a bad year. He's a one good race car driver.
Well, you're also looking at another good race car driver. Dorsey Schrader wins here at Lime Rock, becoming the first guy to win twice in 1996. Back to you guys.
Suppose you're a student of Dorsey Schrader's. Do you think he might know what he's talking about when he tells you how to lap here at this track?
I have been, and he does.
He does.
You bet. Greg Pickett ties Mark Donohue's record of top 3 Trans Am finishes with his 43rd podium finish this afternoon. Bart?
Hey, Greg, congratulations. Nice second place finish. You might not know this, but you just tied Mark Donohue with the most top 3 career finishes in Trans Am history. Not a bad fact.
Yeah, no, I mean, we knew that. He was one of my real all-time favorites. I remember as a little guy sitting up on the hill at Sears Point watching Donohue do some of those records. And to me, the all-time top 3 finisher in Trans Am means a lot to me. It's a heck of a job. I appreciate it, Bart.
How about today, the race today? It came to you. You saw some people ahead of you battle and fall out. You just held your position. All of a sudden, you found yourself in second. Any problems?
Yeah, that's all. I mean, I knew we had a good pace. I think I was running hard enough to keep some pressure on the front. And, you know, I was sorry for Ronnie. He was running a good race. And Boris was trying real hard, so I decided to let him go early. And I'm happy. You know, it's a good old car. And, you know, for a close to 50-year-old guy, I'm pretty happy, you know, what can I tell you?
Hey, well, some of the top drivers in some of the other series don't hit their peak till they're about 40, 45. So obviously you're in pretty good physical shape, though, aren't you?
Yeah, I try to be. You know, it's all that Champion Nutrition products. They're the best there is.
All right, you're looking at a pretty happy guy. Back to you guys.
So Dorsey Schrader and Greg Pickett will be joined by Tom Kendall, who came from an early race pit stop to reach the podium at Lime Rock today. Lots more coming up, so stay with us. Paul Gentilozzi was up in the battle for 4th place. Look at the blue Camaro of Jamie Gallus on the inside at Big Bend.
Coming down the inside, they obviously touched. Jamie Gallus puts the wheel over the edge. Coming around the outside is Tommy Kendall in the 11 car just off the picture. Paul Gentilozzi spins right around, does a complete 360 in the dirt on the track. Off the track.
Yeah,
and
gets it right back on again.
And
Terrific job.
Really basically drops him back to 6th spot.
Let's go to the podium, and Bart with Tom Kendall.
Well, you're looking at Tommy Kendall getting congratulations from 2nd place finisher Greg Pickett. Hey, Greg, excuse me here. Tommy.
Sure.
He's taking.
Talk your brother. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Anyways, Tommy, you've made a habit of this. I know it's probably not the way you want to do it here, making an early pit stop and having to charge your way through the field. Tell me about it. What happened? I guess you can say that's another one of my bad habits. I just didn't shake that one. You know, we had a little pinhole puncture in the tire. Guys were going off in front of me, and we were running through stuff. And there's not much you can do about that. I wasn't sure the way the car was moving around. I thought I might have broken a rear, something in the rear end. And fortunately, it was just a tire. And from then on, just enough fuel had burned off, and the car was magic from that point on. You know, I saw Ron was only a few seconds from lapping me, and we took off from them, put about 10-15 seconds on them, and ended up third. I'm pretty happy. Now, the last couple laps must have been exciting. You were with Jamie Gallus and Paul Gentilozzi. Tell me a little bit about that. Well, I was quite a bit quicker than them, but they were really quick through the downhill here, and that's about the only passing opportunity down the straightaway. And so I got by Jamie, but in the meantime, trying to get by Paul, Jamie got back by me, so it was a bit of a mess. But they took care of each other, and I was just able to kind of pick my way through the rubble. Okay, the point standings, you got valuable points here. Fellows didn't finish again. How do you like your chances the last 6 or 7 races? I wouldn't be any place but right where I'm at. We've got a dynamite car, the all-sport cars, the freight train right now. If we can just get through one of these races without making 2 or 3 stops, we'll be in good shape. Right, he's happy considering his 3rd place finish. Back to you guys.
Sam, not often you see a car come from with the leaders in his mirror to come all the way back around to a 3rd place finish in this series.
No, you hate to see Ron Fellows. There's that car being pulled in. But I wonder, David, might this be a turning point in the championship? Dorsey picking up becoming the first 2-time winner this year. I think he might be on a real roll.
I think he is. And of course, just for my math, which doesn't say much, Dorsey's probably leading with 156 points to Jamie Gallus now with 151. Tommy Kendall, in spite of that incredible run to the field, has only got 142 points. But as you can see, it was a very, very exciting afternoon, especially for Tommy, who had a great view of that spin of Paul Gentilozzi down at Big Bend.
And Fellows finished 18th today. It's not going to help his chances. Here's a young fellow who ended up with a good run today. Let's go back to Bart.
Jamie, pretty excited in the last couple laps there. Tell me about it.
It was really exciting. I started a little further back and moved my way up a little bit in the beginning, but in the middle I just kind of wanted to cruise and save my tires. I thought there'd be a yellow, and then Tommy came up behind me, and so then we started going harder, and he and Paul and I had a real good race, and we all went into turn 1 together one time, and I don't know who came out. I didn't come out. My right or left front was towed in about 90 degrees, it looked like. So that's just racing, and ICI Camaro ran good. We had a tough weekend, and we're happy to be 5th.
Now, what about the point standings? You were leading coming in. You might have lost to Dorsey, but you got to be kind of happy when you weren't right on all weekend. You still got away with some points.
Yeah, you know, that's really all we wanted from today. Was we had a lot of problems, you know, the whole weekend, and to come out, you know, I think we're still definitely maybe either tied or within striking distance. So, you know, we're ready to go, and you know, we can't wait for Detroit.
Should be a good race. Back to you guys.
So he comes up with a top 5 finish here as Lime Rock gets ready to switch over for the IMSA competitors, and Dorsey Schrader has taken the point lead by 5 over Jamie Gallus. Tom Kendall in 3rd, Paul Gentilozzi is flipping to 4th, and Brian Simo with a top 5 finish today, 5th in the standings, leaving Lime Rock, the 6th of 14 events this year. The manufacturer's standings, well, with Ford and Victory Lane, they come to within 4 points of Chevrolet in a very hotly contested battle. In fact, as Sam talked about at the start of the show, when the Trans Am Championship began, there was no Drivers' Championship. It was strictly a championship of makes.
And, of course, hotly contested in those days. Look at that terrific crowd as a result of both IMSA and SCCA racing here, where we've had the best of the SCCA. We're soon going to have a great IMSA race, I think, on tap. The next Trans Am is in 2 weeks at Detroit. That's going to be a great shootout, I think. I mean, you've seen what it's like to watch these guys battle, and I think we're going to see another great one there.
Great street fight there in Detroit, for sure. And then, of course, TNN will pick up the circuit once again in July when it moves to Minneapolis. So you'll see a lot of Trans Am racing.
That should be a good street race, too. The first time ever in Minneapolis to having had a street race, and it's for a children's charity. So that should be good. And they're expecting a good crowd. I gave a speech up there to the SCCA back in the winter, and they were all very excited about the upcoming SCCA race.
We'll look forward to that as we go back down Victory Lane.
You're looking at the team manager for the Rocket Sports team, Mark Strickland. Paul had a good battle with Jamie, and then what happened in the last lap there?
Well, I'm waiting for him to bring the replays up now. We're going to watch it and see what it looks like on the replay.
Now, I noticed that just before that, Bill Saunders had also gone off. Was that a tire problem?
I think Bill broke a suspension part in the front. We're not exactly sure yet, but that's what it appears at this point.
So it was nice and calm for about 64 laps, and then the last 2, all heck break loose.
We needed the race to end about 3 laps sooner than it did, I guess.
All right, thank you. Back to the booth.